Are you seriously going to eat, you fat blibbity blabbity blob? I mean,
It's
some of you might be like,
continual.
why would I want to start this?
Sensitive. She's sensitive. She's
You are listening to the Tami Talks unscripted healing podcast, where we share stories that are, you guessed it, unscripted.
That's the thing, this journey doesn't stop.
It doesn't really
right?
end. We have a general sense of the topic each episode, but really the whole point is just to show up and be authentic and let our inner child speak its truth. And I have continued to work through that story of constantly hearing, well, we don't want, got a hot dog on our hands. Yeah, guess what, Mr. Sabatsky, you do. So I'm so excited that you are here, and it is my hope that you hear yourself somewhere in the story so that way you can feel seen and heard as well. So let's start talking. Welcome to the Tami Talks unscripted healing podcast. Before we hop into today's episode, I just wanted to send my thank you and gratitude to all of you who sent a message, commented on YouTube or wherever you left a message, or just sent me one privately after listening to last week's episode where I got real vulnerable out on that log. Because those are the episodes that are actually kind of hard to put out sometimes, because you just never know how people are going to receive. Like, was I too emotional? Was I too? And I was like, Tami, that was the whole freaking point, was that you're too much and you're just going to own it and embrace it and love that about you. So, but truly, thank you for that feedback, to know that sometimes those messages that are straight up channeled from my heart are sometimes the ones that land the most with all of you. And so thank you for that. And I'll keep sending those messages as they come through, and who knows where I'll end up next time recording. But today I got to sit down with one of my dear, dear friends, a soul sister, a fellow Sagittarius, my dear friend Robin, who was with me through one of the hardest, most transitional chapters of my life. And today you get to hear about a very transformational part of her life and her story. And so I want to get you right to that episode. But first, I want to let you know that my girl Rachel, who's helping me with all this behind the scenes stuff, is doing some pretty cool things. And she has a way where you can actually subscribe to get this episode sent directly to your inbox. You don't even have to go searching for it on YouTube. It can get emailed to you directly, like, hey, new episode is dropping. So look at that. Look at, we're really doing things over here. Really stepping up after doing this for almost 2 years. And if you are in the Madison area and you want to come work out with me or get coached by me at F45, you can just type in code Tami. Well, actually, that is the code. You'll just type in Tami, Tami, 1M, 1I. Do not MMY me, please. I am not a TAMMY Tami. Clearly, I don't know what that means. I don't have anything against any TMMY Tamis, but I am a TAMI. So you can go to F45/Madison West. And when you go to sign up for either a drop-in, if you want to do a drop-in, just do one. But why wouldn't you do a full week and do 7? Get a 7-day free trial and come hang out with me and do some fun strength days, some cardio days, some endurance days, all the fun things that we do over there. So get a free 7 days. Come on and play with me. Type in Tami as your code. Okay. I think that's it. So I will get on to the episode because, so good. All the feels.
Oh my
So
goodness.
good to see you.
You. Oh my word.
Forever.
It's been a long time, guys. And I've just been so proud of you. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's just been so beautiful to witness. And I have to tell you, this is a wish list. Because I was like, I would love to be on Tami's podcast. And so when you reached out, I was like, oh my goodness, yes.
Oh, yay. I love that. I mean, this probably wouldn't even be a thing if it weren't for you and the work that I did while being a part of programs that you were a part of and coaching and leading me. And you saw me through some stuff. Yeah. So my energy was pretty heavy this morning. And at one point I was like, I got to clear this before this podcast this afternoon. So, but it just immediately, I'm like, like you just have that energy and presence about you. And so thank you. This feels so good. And this is like just what I needed, was to have a little sit down with an old friend today.
Yes.
So
I feel that.
yeah. So everyone, welcome my guest, Miss Robin Finney. And her and I go back to 2022. I believe it was the end of that year. I just turned 40. I think it was that December that I started. It was maybe a 3 or 4 month program with you
Yep.
and Amber. I was in Sedona for my solo retreat, which is so funny because of what you do, which we'll get into. And I will never forget, I was sitting in my little Airbnb on the bed, like, I got to get on this coaching call because it's the first one and I can't miss it. I had like just flown in. And so, yeah, wow, that started quite the journey of my life, and you playing a huge part in it because you were a weekly part of my life for the next year and a half.
Yes. Yeah.
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 But anyway, enough about that. I want to dive in and just kind of have you introduce yourself and who you are, and then we'll get into all the fun stuff of Robin as the little girl to who Robin is now and that whole thing. So, who is Robin right now?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm the wandering aunt or aunt, however you want to say it, AUNT. And that's always the first question people ask me is, where are you? Where are you in the world? Which is so funny because as a kid, I loved Carmen Sandiego. And
I did too. Where
she'll go
in the
everywhere.
world is Carmen Sandiego?
And now it's
My
like people
favorite
are
thing was
always
at the
like,
end when
yeah,
they did the map thing.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I had
I
no
can only
idea
ever do
that
the
like
US.
a whole lifetime later as a child, it's like I would be getting asked that question, where in the world is Robin Finney?
Oh,
And
I love
so
that.
it's like, it's really cool. And they just, I think, redid the show and my niece was watching it. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. But so back in Dallas at the moment, which is my home base in the US. And I'm the wandering aunt because I wander. And I also come back to Dallas for home base because my littles are here. And I have two littles in Tennessee and they're my world. And so I kind of combined my two favorite loves, travel and being an auntie. So I lead people in really discovering who they are primarily through travel. And I lead what I call solo experiences, SOULO, and it's really about getting to know yourself on a deeper level.
I have
Um,
so many goosebumps right now. That's what I'm trying to convey, right?
so yeah,
He's like speaking truth into my soul. Like, yes.
I love to say solo, SOLO, is something that you do by yourself, but
Yes.
solo, SOULO, is something you create with yourself. So it's like it takes it a layer deeper. And so it's
Yeah.
really been through my own solo journeys that I've really gotten clear on, oh, this is what I'm here to do, is really show people that it's not really about what you're doing. It's about how you're feeling, how you're being, who you're being, and carrying those pieces back to wherever you are in life. And then I'm a manifesting generator for those familiar with human design. So I wear a lot of hats. Amber Sweener, who we mentioned, I have supported her for the past few years and some of her coaching containers. And I'm in another community called Forge for creative entrepreneurs that I get to support in different ways. And I'm supporting with a big event called Neurodivergence that is for those of us
Ooh.
who identify as neurodivergent or have people in our lives who maybe just lived life differently, think differently, have unique minds. So I wear a lot of hats and I love it. I love having multi focuses. So
Oh, I love that. Go into that a little bit because I don't know if everyone is quite familiar with what exactly that term means or how you would identify as someone that classifies themselves as that.
yeah. So I think primarily a lot of people think of the first thing is ADHD or
Mhm.
autism. And those are facets of it. And there's many layers: dyslexia, highly sensitive person, OCD, um, auditory sensitive. So there's many layers. And really the way I like to think of it is there's neurotypical way of living where it's okay, because we all live on a spectrum, but it's like there might be one where it's like, okay, this is the most common way that most people live. This is how society structured us to live. This is our box. And then there's those of us who live maybe in a circle or live outside of that, or an open or a broken box. And our tagline for the event is the celebration of unique minds. And I love that because it's like we just think differently. And it doesn't mean we're bad or wrong or slow or that anything's like needs to be fixed. It's more just like, no, this is how I operate. And what I love is we're finally starting to wake up to that.
Yes.
And it's like I look at my littles and they have fidgets all the time. And I think back and I'm like, and my niece she made me a fidget and I constantly have it when I'm on calls. And I thought, yeah, it's like I'm always holding something, a pen, a
I'm like,
water
what are you
bottle,
holding in your hand? I'm like, it's my little stone. It just, I
always
don't know.
something.
Yeah.
And I think I'm like, wow, I did not have that growing up
No.
at all.
Nope.
It's like that was not a thing. And so it's been giving me a lot of freedom in that regard and recognizing like, okay, I just think a little differently. I function a little differently, and that's okay.
Yeah. And finding a community and a safe space to express what that looks like and feels like and being able to bring language around it. And that was last week's podcast for me, was wanting to make the term inner child and ego common knowledge, like something that we can just talk about. And it's not like, what did you say? What is that? No, everyone just knows. Everyone has an inner child. I want that to be something that we can all just relate to. And so just like what you said, is knowing what that means and how we can honor people's specific needs. I actually had this conversation with a good friend of mine whose nephew is on the autism spectrum. And we were talking about how even the parent hasn't fully accepted this
Mm.
and isn't really communicating in a way that is meeting this kid's need and in a way that he can truly communicate. And it's because of a parent's own stuff and blocks, right? But in the meantime, like, oh, I can see these childhood wounds that are forming because dad doesn't see me. Dad doesn't hear me. Dad doesn't know how to communicate with me or accept who I am.
Yeah.
When here it's like this beautiful boy who just thinks differently and expresses differently and responds differently. And you can learn that. And there's so many beautiful gifts within that. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, well, you'll have to keep us posted on that. That
Yeah.
sounds exciting. But I know that's one of the hats that you wear. But and I want to go back to what you said about solo, because man, that hit on so many levels, because I was never one to travel by myself. When I got into the supplement company that I've been with for 10 years, I would start to go on their conferences and stuff like that. And I would travel by myself, but you'd always be with this big, huge group. And
Yeah.
now knowing about energy and, I'm like, oh, that's why I could be like,
Yeah.
like I gotta get away. I gotta get some me time. I didn't know that before. But when I went to Sedona and was like, I gotta just do this myself.
Mm.
But like you said, this whole journey is so often we are looking for outside sources or outside validation, things outside of ourselves to heal, to learn, to grow, to whatever, when really, like you said, it's like, oof, like
Yeah.
going within and getting solo with you. So talk a little bit about that and what that looked like for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because for a long time I've been traveling internationally for over 20 years. I studied abroad in college, and before that it was like my family, we were always taking cross-country road trips, and so I just have I'm Sagittarius. We talked about this at the beginning. It's like I have that innately within my DNA that I'm here to explore. So I would always travel. I was traveling with people all the time. And in college, every weekend we'd get a long weekend and we could travel to other countries, but we had to have at least 3 people in a group in order to do it. And so I learned a lot in that experience, which was really great. And it also was I remember I think 2013 was the first time I was going to visit a friend who lived in Jordan, and that was my first time traveling, one to the Middle East, but also by myself somewhere or with myself somewhere. But at the time, it felt like by myself
Yeah,
somewhere.
I love that. By myself or with myself. Ooh.
The difference
Oh,
of
that's
being
good.
alone and lonely.
I
It's
was,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. If you're like, oh, you're always doing, but I'm like, but I'm not, I don't feel alone. Used to, but now I'm like, I'm really good company.
yeah. Like I like hanging out with me.
I
I'm
like
fun.
me.
It's so fun. I just remember on the way over there on that trip, I had a long layover in Frankfurt. And so I decided to leave the airport and go off on my own. And that was my first time really like, ooh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go out.
Yeah.
And I just remember it being so empowering. And I felt like, oh my goodness, this is exhilarating. And then I was in the corporate world and I would travel for work, but I would also save up my vacation time so that I could take one big trip a year. And
Mhm.
so I'd put all my coins in one bucket and spend it all. And then I'd have to wait another year until I could go on another big trip. And every time I'd go on these trips, I would just come back feeling really sad and really like post vacation depression. And I remember in 2014, I went to New Zealand, and that was the first time that I really entered a long depression after that
Wow.
for, I mean, almost a year. And it was like something I felt like when I was leaving these places that I was leaving a piece of myself behind and then going back to something that didn't necessarily fit.
Yeah. Ooh.
And so it took me years, several layers, and then finally I went on my first meditation retreat, in 2017 in Guatemala, and it was the very first day of the retreat in meditation, I got clear that I was playing it safe in life. And for me,
Woo!
safe because people on the outside, it would look like, "Oh, Robin's going to all these amazing places." But for
Yeah.
me, the safety was I wasn't taking it's like I would be one person when I was traveling, and I'd be a completely different person when
Yeah.
I get back. I'd be the safe version. Whereas, like, when I would travel, it's like, nobody knows me. I can explore, I can just be, but then you come back and
Ooh.
it's like we put the mask on, and we fit ourselves back into the box that everybody else knows us as or that's
Expects
acceptable
you to be and
to
yeah,
be. Yeah.
socially acceptable. Yeah.
And so it was one of those truths that once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I've got to need to do something about this. And I think a lot of people would think like, oh, okay, maybe I'll take a sabbatical and I'll give myself a little time. For me, I knew I was like, okay, if I don't do something big, this isn't going to change. I knew I wasn't going to actually save the money by
Right.
staying at my job. And it's like, I knew those patterns would just continue. So I finally was just like, I'm just going to put it all in. And so I did. I sold most of my belongings. I quit my job. I cashed in all of my retirement, sold my car, and I really put it all in
Oh.
and became a nomad. No plan. The only plan I had was buying one-way tickets. And that for me, that was part of my solo journey was really like, I just want to show up in places and see who I meet, who I connect with, what the land has
Mm.
to tell me, and then open myself up to invitations. And then I would get invitations and I would just hop all over the world based on those. So it just created like this whole experience. And that's kind of how it was all starting to be birthed.
Wow. I have so many goosebumps right now. It just man, like, that takes some big old kahunas. Whatever. We don't do that. We want like, okay, if I'm gonna leave my job, I gotta have this whole plan, I gotta have this savings, I gotta have this, and that would be the smart thing to do. But you're right. Let's be realistic here. Is that really my personality? Is that really what I'm gonna do? Or do I need to rip this band-aid off and just start living life and see where it takes me? And maybe that is the Sagittarius in us because I kind of did the same thing in a different way.
Yeah.
I knew I was working at the healthcare system, and I will never forget that quote where it's like, the universe said, I had to make you so uncomfortable, otherwise you never would have moved.
Yeah.
And it was like it was shoving me out the door, but I was like, no, this is safe and I have benefits here. But it was like, no, you're not meant to be here. You're not meant to stay here. How much worse do you want this to get? And it was just about like, okay, I'll figure it out as I go. And I'm still
Yeah.
figuring it out. But there's something about, like you said, like being open to the invitation. Because I think even when I started working with you guys, like this podcast wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
Because that didn't really come in. I didn't roll that out until 2024. So that was right as that program kind of ended. And so this wasn't even a thing. And so it's wild. The gym, opening a gym.
Yeah.
That wasn't even on the radar a year ago yet. Those conversations started in December. So you never know. But if you get so locked into the safety of the paycheck or whatever, you can't open yourself up to adventures and opportunities and what
Yeah.
comes your way.
I wrote a Substack a few months ago about when it's letting go. It's like the moment we reach that and we're about to let go, that's when attachment becomes the hardest.
Oof.
And I've recognized, just like looking at my own experience, how it's like you make the decision to do something and then life shows up and it's like
Uh-huh.
you're going to move and then suddenly you find your favorite cafe and you're like, "Well, wait a second. I'm leaving. Why did this just show up?" Or like
Mhm.
whenever I was quitting my corporate job, I knew I was leaving already, but I was like, "I've got nothing to lose." So I put it all on the line. And then they came back and they were basically giving me everything that I'd asked for. And they were like, "What do you think?" And I said, "I think my time is done."
Whoo!
It was so hard because they finally gave me everything that I wanted.
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
I don't necessarily say like it's the universe testing us or anything, but I think a lot of times it's like dangling, like, how bad do you really want the thing?
Oh
Because
my gosh.
oftentimes it's the thing we want. It doesn't look the way that we
No.
expected it to. Or it's like if somebody had told you your journey 5 years before it happened. I'm
Right.
sure we'll maybe talk about this, but it's like I went through bankruptcy last year, and if you had told me when I quit everything and cashed it all in that I
Yeah.
would then end up going through this experience, I would have been like, "No, I'm not doing that. Nope, I'm gonna put me back
Right.
in the box. I'm gonna stay safe.
Yep.
Can't do that."
Obviously needed to happen for whatever soul lessons and expansion that you needed to experience.
Yeah.
And so without that, like, gosh, like who would I be if I wouldn't have gone through that
Yeah.
and had all of these travels and all of these stories and all of these adventures and all of this experience of learning myself throughout those trips? Yeah, it would have sure been safer to do that. And this wasn't fun to go through, but man, look at what I have learned and gained from that experience. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't plan on getting divorced.
Right. I
I
was
mean,
gonna say, like, when you got married, if somebody had told me, like, "Hey, in this many
yeah,
years, you're gonna have 2 kids, and then guess what? You're gonna leave your marriage you're gonna part ways."
yeah. Oh, I
It's
remember
like,
having conversations like, oh, and us together, like, yeah, they're probably gonna get divorced. And here I was like, no, it's actually gonna be you two. Because yeah, starting off there, we never fought. Everything was fun
oh,
and easy and all the things. And then you just slowly start disconnecting and you're like, oh my gosh, like that's now my reality. And you can't even fathom that that's you. I mean, that was years of accepting that, right? Coming to that realization and then accepting it and then doing something about it. And I think I mentioned on the podcast a couple weeks ago with Dr. Alvin was that I remember asking to go to therapy when my daughter was 6 months old. She
mm,
just turned 12. We just got divorced this last April. Like, whoa. So, yeah, nothing that you have planned, and you want to do everything to stay safe in this box and what society accepts and what's going to keep everyone in your circle happy and comfortable, because it made a lot of people in my immediate circle very uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Which brings me to talking about little Robin and how this Robin shows up and probably triggers some of the conditioning and dynamics within your family, because I love your story. And you have put out, maybe we can share this as part of the promo for this podcast, but that reel that you did about I was told to be
mm,
this, so I did that. And it was so powerful. It was like all of these things that I was told to do and who to be, I just did the opposite. And it's like, it was so empowering. And so I want you to share a little bit about what it was like for a little Robin growing up. And yeah, because you would
yeah.
not think that you would be out doing all this adventure stuff and kind of being
No,
this rebel in a sense.
no, not at all. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Tennessee, and I no, that would not have been on my radar at all. I grew up in an unfinished house, and which to this day is now abandoned, but still never got finished. And
Oh,
so I remember it was like my great grandparents' house, and my parents they moved into it from New Jersey. And my siblings and I, once they started having, I have 3 siblings, I'm the youngest, and we all shared like a little loft upstairs, and then there was the main floor. And I remember in the early 90s, my parents decided they wanted to remodel the house, and not just remodel it, but it was like, let's jack up the house, move it over, dig a basement, move it back, and add on a story. So basically, we
Wow.
took the old house, did all of that, and then we moved into the basement, and then the rest was history. And it was
Wow.
my dad was an alcoholic for much of my childhood. I didn't know that until I was about 13, but there was a lot there
Yeah. You
that
knew, but you didn't know, kinda.
right. I knew, but I didn't know. And so we had this experience where it's like we were living in the basement, and then in the basement, it's like I didn't have like a set room. It's like I'd moved from one corner to another corner to ultimately sleeping on a couch in the middle of the basement. And my
Hmm.
my dad to this day still jokes and says, because I would be like, "Dad, it's not normal that a teenager didn't have walls." And he'll say, "But you always kept your space clean and organized." But that was the only thing I could control.
Right. Right.
And so I would. It's like, and to this day, I'm like, it's funny because I'm still a nomad and I live with
Right.
other people.
You still don't really have a place to
I
call
don't
your
really
own,
have a
like,
place. And
wow.
but as a kid, it's like I would go up, we called it way, way upstairs, and I would go way, way upstairs and go in what would have been my room. And it was empty walls, like didn't even have sheetrock up. And I would just sit in there and dream.
Mm.
Like, this is the color I'm gonna paint my room. This is where I'm gonna put my desk. This is how I'm gonna decorate it. And I would just sit up there and just daydream. And it just created like this one day mentality. And so that's where I'm getting emotional now because when I think about it, it's like as a kid who loved Carmen San Diego and loved to travel and everything, I never would have dreamed that I would actually be doing it because it's like so many other things in my life never came to fruition. And so
Wow.
it was just like, as a kid, I was just like, I still
Mm.
held this excitement. And like, it's like I didn't let go. I never let go of the dream. It's just the dream kind of formed into something else.
Yeah, and what came through when you said that was it's like you almost found a way to, like, hold that dream within and let it become who you are, not necessarily where you are, and that you wherever you go, home is where you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, all the feels, but I'm thinking too, all of these childhood wounds of not having your own space in this home that's unfinished and, like, feeling worthy of a space and just all the messages that experience could have sent, like,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily the focal point, but I just imagine that little girl sitting there and yeah, which makes me think
Yeah.
of
And then,
Arlo right now in
yeah.
our two-bedroom home where he doesn't really have his own space, like, "Oh, no."
Well, and it's interesting because there was a point when I think I was, like, 16 and my grandma had moved, from New Jersey, and she built a house right next to ours. We came home from church one day and there was smoke coming out and the house lamp caught on fire, and I had, like, gone into the basement and I got, like, really bad smoke inhalation, and I didn't realize it's like I'm very sensitive, and I didn't realize at the time how
Yeah.
sensitive that was
Uh-huh.
part of it, and so I ended up moving in with my grandma, and that was kind of the first time that it was like, "Oh, okay, I have a space."
Yeah.
And it still was, I have a space and I'm still in somebody else's house.
Yeah.
It's not my furniture, it's not my wall color, it's like I can put my things in here. And so that's where it's really did start to develop a sense of, I didn't know at the time, but what you said, it's like learning that home for me is not a physical place and learning to make the most of wherever I am.
Whoo, that's powerful stuff right there. All the feels. Well, and talk a little bit too about what it was like growing up because you mentioned church, and
Mhm.
I know there was some rules and things along with that or expectations that didn't quite fit for you.
Yeah. Yeah, we were very like Church of Christ, very conservative, very it's so interesting because my parents weren't really like this, but a lot of the preachers we had were like the hellfire brimstone, and so it's like I just grew up with like this version of God being a fearful man in the sky.
Yeah. Ooh.
Because it's like we would constantly hear about the fear of God, but I didn't really know what that meant. And so, and then our songs, like songs we would sing, like there was a song like "There's an Eye Watching You," and so as a kid, I would just like lay in bed thinking like there's an eye watching me from the sky, but not just watching me, it's watching my thoughts. So it was to
Yeah.
the point where even whatever you're thinking in your head, it's like God can hear everything.
Yeah.
And so I just grew up with this big fear mentality, and that it's like, okay, I got to be on my best behavior always. I can't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, there's the formation of like the good girl, the perfect child,
yep,
oh yeah, there it is.
yep. Yeah, I'll never forget when I was 7. I was up in the way upstairs, and I had my dad's painter's tape or something. It was like a measuring tape, and I broke it, and then I got scared, and so I hid it, and then he was asking about it, and I lied, and he saw right through it, and then I got in trouble, and I made a decision because it's like we make decisions as children that we don't realize at the time
Yep.
to protect ourselves. And so I made a
Yep.
decision that I would always be on my best behavior. I would be the good girl and just put on the fake.
Ah! Which, and I remember this conversation I had with Julie a couple episodes back. In some ways, that could serve you well in some aspects, but in other aspects, it makes you abandon these other parts of you,
Yeah.
right? Like, sure, maybe I got good grades because of that, or yeah, I didn't get in trouble and I wasn't disrespectful. And there can be good qualities of that, and oftentimes it can make you abandon your true feelings of being able to speak up for yourself, to
Mhm.
truly feel what you need to feel, to ask for what you want, ask for what you need. And so it's like that whole pendulum, right? If it were to stay here, that'd be great, but it doesn't. It swings so far. Well, now I got to be the perfect one, and I will never ruffle a feather. I will never rock the boat. I will.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it's so it's so funny because I look back, and when I was in high school, I was on the speech team. I was very heavily involved in a lot of things, and I had a whole collection of suits for all of our speech tournaments and competitions, and I was the president of the team 3 years in a row, and was just very like, okay, success path. And I was so responsible, and my friends would joke and say that I was an 18-year-old trapped in like a 40-year-old's body, or like
Yeah.
a 40-year-old trapped in an 18-year-old's
Yeah. Yeah.
body. And and then when I like got into my early 30s, and when I started really doing the work and starting to dissect everything and look at like, okay, what do I really believe, and develop my own sense of spirituality and my relationship with God and universe and source and all of that, and like creating that. And then when I left to be a nomad, it's almost like I turned into like the rebellious teenager,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I didn't have that when I wouldn't allow myself, for one, but I also was just like very, very confined in that. So when I finally just like took it off, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and like, you know,
Right. Again, the one extreme to the other. Like,
yeah.
oh,
Yep.
whoo. So how was that received when you decided to just completely like set the suit down and explore this other life?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely took a while to get there. Took many, many years and lots of layers. And I think because I was traveling so much all the time, it wasn't really a shock to people when I told them that I was gonna do this thing. Even my parents weren't really surprised when I told them, but of course, like, nervous about me being a
Yeah.
woman and traveling by myself places and everything that goes with that. But it more so, it would just make a lot of people uncomfortable, because it's like, "You're doing what? You don't you only buy one-way tickets? Wait, what? You don't have a lot of money saved? You don't have wait, you did what?" And so it was just a lot of, like,
A lot of
that,
projections.
a lot of projections.
A lot of people's projections of their own fear and worry and yeah.
And then I had this experience as a child where I would fully express myself, and then it would get shut down. And so it was always this constant dance of like, look at me. And then, oh, that's too much. You tone it down. You got to tone it down. Or, oh, you can't wear that. You can't dress like that. You got to. And so when I first started my nomad journey, one of the things that was birthed in the experience was I started doing these photo shoots to honor like the culture in the country, like wherever I was going. And so I would buy like a local outfit. I'd hire a local photographer, makeup artist, all of that. But the first time I did it, I was going to Mexico and I just saw pictures of this town that somebody had told me about. And I was like, oh my goodness, looks beautiful. This would be really cool to do a photo shoot. And I remember I was in Nordstrom and I just went in the dressing room, just started trying on all these clothes just for fun, all these gowns and stuff. And I put this romper on and I was like, oh my goodness. And I just fell in love with it. And I was like, I have to buy this. But it was so risky for me because I'm tall. I have really long legs. I was always taught growing up, like, you can cover, we wear long shorts that come down to your knees. And this romper was not that. And
Uh-huh.
and I wore it and it was so empowering. It was like this part of me just
Mm.
came alive. And people would comment after and they'd be like, oh my goodness, legs for days. And like, oh, that's so powerful and everything. But then I was talking to my dad after and he was like, I can't even look at your photos. And it was coming from a loving space of like, he's my dad, he cares about me and protects me. But it was just it was hard. It was hard to hear that. And
Well,
then,
right. It's like not truly seeing me or accepting this version of me, which is
yeah,
a part of who I am. And so in a sense, you're rejecting that, which does not
right.
feel good from your dad, from
Yeah,
anyone, but especially a parent.
right. And so I would start to get objections about different things and even other nomads, that's how I was traveling. It was like, you travel too fast and you need to slow it down. There was always feedback. Um, and then it was the first time I invested in a coaching program. I mean, looking back, I had no income. It made no sense to be investing in a $30,000+ program. But something told me, hey, let's do this. And I signed up. And the first thing that was said to me was, oh, Rob, you didn't get yourself involved in something that rich people do. And then somebody else said, why did you go for the Cadillac when you can only afford the Honda? And so it was already this energy and worthiness came up when I was signing up for
Uh-huh.
the program. And so one of the reasons I signed up, I think, was I was trying to prove to myself that I was worthy.
Yeah.
And then it just set me on a path of like, it was like an amazing program and everything, and it taught me a lot. And I started to build my business from that. And the pandemic hit after that, and it was just like financially, I just
Mm.
couldn't keep up with it. And then that eventually led to
Yeah.
bankruptcy. And it was really hard for me to be with that because I was dealing with the worthiness piece
Yeah.
and then having those comments come at me. And then I just held on to them and believed it.
Right. Oh, yeah. The world of entrepreneurship is
Ugh.
no joke
No.
because the whole thing is like, well, I need to invest
No.
in myself and my business in order to make money. And it brings up every freaking childhood wound that you have around worthiness. And then you could have this amazing thing in program, and then all of the fear of rejection comes up when you're about to roll it out. And it's just, so
It's the most exposing
yeah.
experience.
Like,
It's
here's
so
this giant wound. Let me rip it open for you
like
and just, hey, here you go.
like everything you're about to put out there, it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
And the fear of being seen, right? Because and just like me, like, I have to promote myself. No one else is doing that for me. I
Right.
don't work for an organization anymore who's bringing me clients or lining up podcast guests. I have to do that. And I know that there are people be like, oh, Tammy's on social media, whatever. Like, yeah, because I have to.
Yeah.
It is my livelihood to have to put myself out there. And the way that I share my stories, so much of my work is showing the process of this journey and healing.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of like a little reality show to be like, hey, I'm having a heavy day today. Here's how I'm moving through it. Just before this, I'm like, had to go sit in the grass.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think and that's the part where it's like we don't hear. I think now more people are starting to be more vulnerable and share about their journeys. And it's like I was very much in the world of the six-figure coach and the 10K months. And it's like not recognizing it's my nervous system wasn't
oh,
ready for a leap
yep.
like that.
Yeah.
Or hearing like, oh, it actually takes 3 to 5 years for a business to really have wings and be profitable. And so those are the conversations that weren't really talked about as much.
Yeah.
And I think we are starting to hear it more. And I think maybe that's us as like Sagittarians. It's like we're truth seers. And so for me, it's like I can't not share.
Right. There's something about I'm in it. I want to share it now, not necessarily like, oh, look at me. I've got it all figured out. This is how I
Right.
did it. No, I'm in it
Yeah.
right now. And there's something relatable to that and
Yeah.
something that can like resonate deeply with people like, oh, well, she's allowing herself to be seen. So wait, I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to be perfect in order to just step out and do this thing. I can still be struggling with a certain aspect of my business or with my healing journey and still show up. To me, that's healing in itself. To tell your inner child, I never needed you to be perfect. I never needed you to have it all figured out. I just wanted you to be you and to show up as authentically as you.
Yeah.
And trusting that the more you do that, the more those doors are open, the more those opportunities will show up and the people and all of those things. And so,
It's like one of my coaches calls it like being transparent out loud.
yeah.
And there's levels to it where it's like sometimes when we're in it, if we're not fully healed from the thing, we're not ready. We're not like ready to let people in.
Yeah.
And we can still, it's like you, even with your divorce, it's like watched that where it's like you didn't just come right out right away and tell people, this is what's happening. I moved out. I got my own apartment. My husband and I are separating. It was very layered because it's like our nervous system also has to be in a space where it's comfortable. So it's like when I was going through all my debt and everything, it was really challenging. And I had to deal with so many layers of shame and judgment before I even got to the point of even considering bankruptcy as an option. Because in my
Yeah.
mind, that was like the nuclear option.
Right.
And it meant it's like I created all these things about what it could mean. And then when I finally made the choice for myself, and it was like an empowered decision at that point, and went through it, I didn't share while I was going through it. It's like I had people in my life who were supporting
Mhm.
me, who knew.
Yeah.
And I also like once I got through it, then I was like, okay, I'm still not clearly out of the woods and I don't want to hide that part of my journey.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't want to wait until I'm like, oh, guess what? I'm six figure now and oh yeah, 10, like 2 years ago I went through bankruptcy. It's like, no, for me, I was like, okay, I had to get through that journey and it's only been almost a year since it completed. And I just 2 months ago finally came out and shared about it publicly because I was like, okay, I'm ready for myself, I need to share this truth.
Well, you're right, because there's so many layers to that. Again, the shame and the guilt and all of those things, same thing with divorce. But I had to get to a place, and same with you, is that if I put this out there, I have to be okay with whatever stories other people are going to create. I can't worry about outside validation or rejection from people. Like, I have to be so solid in who I am and the choice that I made that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that, oh man, I remember that I really struggled because I knew like in my soul what I was doing, but also wasn't just my story. And it got to a point where I was like, I have to be able to share this now. It started to feel inauthentic to keep beating
Yes.
around the bush about it and for
Yeah.
people to not know, like, what is she hitting at? I'm like, I need to be able to finally put this out there and speak to it in a respectful way. I had gotten to that point where I needed to be at peace with not worrying about what other people were going to think or say. And I've heard things like, oh, she's probably having an affair. And I was like, well, then you obviously don't know me at all.
Yeah.
And if that's the story that you want to create to make sense of why I left a marriage with a man who is a good man, and people can't make sense of that because maybe you're in a situation where you know that you're not connecting anymore either, but yet you're making all of these excuses and rationale because nothing big and catastrophic happened. Well, then you shouldn't leave. You need a reason. You need an excuse when there's all these people that are in marriages that are not serving them. And it's like they need this thing. And then here I was doing that. It's like, well, there has to be some reason. No, like we just weren't connecting on a soul level anymore. And it wasn't, our soul contract was up. We've created a new one as co-parents and working on building that. But it was really interesting. And I had to release that and just be like, I can't worry about it.
Yeah.
That was hard because I was someone who always wanted people's approval. I didn't want anyone to think bad or ill of me or have a negative perception. And here I was just like, whatever, because I know my truth. Like,
Yeah.
I know my truth. And so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. So what was that like, being able to go through that process and kind of be on the other side of it to some extent, right? Like you said, you're still moving through that, but kind of owning that and accepting that. Because I think that's part of what I see with people, whether it's from a weight loss standpoint or something. It's like, I can't feel worthy until I have lost these 40 pounds.
Right.
It's not going to work that way. You need to love yourself right now, 40 pounds overweight. Because if you don't love yourself now, it's not going to matter. You're going to get that test again until you learn the lesson of unconditional love. Like, how can I love myself through this and to feel worthy still? Even when my bank account would say otherwise or whatever it is,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and it was such a journey because it's like imposter syndrome. We talk about that, being a fraud comes up, and I would feel it in my coaching spaces
Yeah.
because I'm like, how is it I'm holding space for others to build their businesses, and here I am, I have all this like that's happened for me. And so I had to really work through those layers. And then it was so funny because when I finally found my lawyer, there were so many resources because there were so many things I was just like, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. And it really shows like the universe was on my side the whole time with all of it. And even allowing me the fact that maybe I wasn't wise at the time. I didn't know anything about lines of credit or loans or anything like that for business. And so I just put it on a credit card because the logic in my head was I've always been responsible and paid my credit cards, so why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And then when I was finally coming to terms with it, I got a hit one day to look and see if there was a volunteer attorney program in Dallas. And I looked and there is, but I was like, bankruptcy wouldn't be covered with that. Like, I can't imagine. And it was. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to apply and just see. And they accepted me. And then they assigned me a lawyer. And I call him Angel Frank because he really
Oh,
was. He was like a godsend. And he was very old school in the sense of like, I got to meet eyeballs to eyeballs. So I didn't start the process until I was back in the US. And so I came back and met with him in person. And I'm sharing with him, and he says, so let me get this straight. You help people with their businesses and you're filing for bankruptcy. And I was like, I know, I know. I was like, I get it. It sounds crazy. Or like, how did you mess up and get in that? But for me, it was really like, no, I was able to own my journey and like, I took a big chance on myself and I have no regrets for doing that.
right.
And I'm grateful that I had all of the capital that I had, even if it ended up in debt and everything. But I'm like, I wouldn't change any of that. It's like, yes, now I have more information about how to go move forward with things, but it was very clear where I was like, yeah, I wouldn't change any of that. And so once I started to really own the process and then going through it was a roller coaster. It was a very grueling process. But when I finally got on the outside of it, when I finally back in September of last year, I had what they called the meeting of the creditors. And it's where the trustee and your lawyer show up, and then any creditors who are wanting to dispute your case have an opportunity to come. And so I show up and nobody showed up. And then the trustee was like, see no objections to this. So we'll move forward. So then he was like, in 60 days, you'll be discharged. So in November of last year, I was discharged. And that's exactly what it felt like. It was like the biggest weight released from me. I had a clean slate. It was liberating because it was something I chose for myself.
Yeah.
I had so many people telling me all different things to do. And it was like I'd chosen it for myself and I came outside of it. And now it took me a bit, but after that, it was like I was in a relationship and then I went through a breakup. So there was a lot that was happening. And so finally in September, I was like, I'd lost a lot of hair earlier in the year too from stress. And so I was like, you know what? I just need to start over. So my hairstylist and I we were like, let's just cut it all and just start over. And so
Mm,
the day I cut it all, I was like, I'm ready to share my story.
Woo!
And it was like I could not, the outpouring of love and support that I received was just so beautiful. Because one of the reasons I also wanted to share is because I'm like, there's so many women out there that it's like I would talk to men. I'd go to these events and I would talk to men and I would ask questions, and they're just like, oh, yeah, that's just part of doing business. It's like something you check off, you do, whatever. You get a lawyer, you handle it. But women, we carry so much shame around money. There's
So
so
much.
many layers. And so I just knew part of it was I need to come out and share the story because I feel like there's so many women who are sitting on the fence who don't know anybody who's done this before, or they need to know that there are options or that it's okay if they choose this path. And I was flooded with so many people messaging me after the fact, sharing their stories.
Which is exactly why you had to go through it, because you're the one who's going to be open and talking about it. So it's
Uh,
like, okay, I understand. Thanks for making me be the one. Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
But you're the perfect person to do it
Yeah.
because of that adventurous and free spirit and the healing that you have done. Because you're right. Money, marriage are two things that people don't just openly talk about when they're struggling.
Yeah.
Those are the very shameful things that we don't openly talk about and express. And so when someone finally does, you you get those people coming out of the woodworks like, oh my gosh, like she's talking about it. Maybe I can talk to her. Maybe someone will understand. Maybe someone will hear me and see me and accept me and still like love me through this and support me through this, because I don't know who else to go to. Because if I tell my sister or my parents or my best friend, they're going to judge me. It's those people that are like really close to us that we have so much fear of opening up to.
Yeah.
And Dr. Alvin talked about that too, of just we get these childhood wounds, oftentimes, not even just childhood wounds, because you continue to get them as long as you're living a human experience.
Yeah.
It's the people that are closest to us because it's them and you love them. And if they don't accept you, that's like, it feels like the worst form of rejection, right? So it's like you can sometimes find these people outside of that who can truly see you and accept you. And that starts this healing process where now your family knows and you can love yourself through it regardless of whether they have thoughts and opinions, because you sometimes had that little safety raft of other people. So yeah, by you sharing that gave other people permission to feel seen in their struggle, and that,
Yeah.
wow. And to know that there was this purpose for you.
Yes. Yeah. And I really got that. It was like that finally came through where I was like, okay, yes, I'm meant to be a doorway for people and a safe space, because that's one of the things I really honor
Mm,
about me and my energy is people feel safe
me
around
too.
me, to the point where with like my solo journey, I've stayed in so many strangers' homes. When I was moving to Thailand, when I started my nomad journey, I found a couple in a Facebook group that had a room for rent. And so I just felt the energy and I was like, okay, this feels good. And she messaged me right before I got there and she was like, hey, just letting you know, we're going to be out of the country when you arrive, but we've left a key for you with one of the neighbors. And I'm like, that's not normal. And then I was hiking in Peru and I met some Argentinians and I was going to Buenos Aires after, and I hung out with them for a day. And one of the girls in the group said, oh, my sister lives there. You can go stay with her. And then I get there and the sister's like, oh, I've got finals this week. I'm going to stay at my parents', but you can just stay in the apartment. And so it's just like I have so many instances like that where it's like I know I have this
Yeah.
energy where people feel safe. And so
Yeah.
that's where part of this journey, I think it's like, yes, I can hold this for people if they are going through something similar or going through their own soul. That's why I call it a solo journey, because it's like, yes, travel is a big component of it. And
Yeah.
there's other things like this that are part of that.
Well, I can absolutely attest to that, because that's exactly what you did for me. Because it was during that time I started that program. I had moved out. And actually, the first retreat in Florida was the week that I moved in here. And I was like, this is
Yeah.
terrible timing. But I knew, I'm like, I have to do this. I
Yeah.
have to do this. And I remember you guys had me, one of our little assignments is we had to pick a word and write it in the sand. And I wrote healing in there. And it was
Yes,
just
I remember
like,
that. It was oof, powerful.
yeah, who knew that that would be a year of some tremendous healing? And even that, same thing. When I went from that, 3 or 4 month program into the year-long container with you and Amber, same thing. I'm like, I am in no position to invest in a year-long
Yeah.
program, but I knew that I needed that container of support because was there 5 or 6 of us in there? I didn't have that confidence yet or the ability to share what I was going through openly. And so that call once a week was where I could let my guard down and I could open up and just be real and authentic about what I was going through. And while I'm trying to not just recreate my personal life, but my professional life, I
Ugh.
mean, you guys saw the demolition of all of it. Literally all of it at the same time. I wouldn't recommend that, but go big or go home, right?
Well, and that's part of it too. I see this in my own journey, and then I see it in my clients and others. It's oftentimes when it's aligned with our soul, it is so nonsensical. It makes no sense to the outside world. No, it doesn't make sense to go on a retreat the same week that you're moving into your own apartment. No, that doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense to sign on for a program when you're like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I always say, like, when I'm meant to be somewhere, the pathway's open. One of my favorite quotes from The Alchemist is, when you want something, the universe conspires to make it happen. And most of the time, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Makes no sense that I would go live in Brazil and be in a relationship with someone who don't speak the same language.
Right.
But it's energy. It's like our energy spoke.
Yes, I think it was a post that you wrote about that. Was that energy is our first language. And I resonated so deeply with that because yeah, I speak energy. I don't need your words. I can read your energy. You can pick that up from people. You know how they're feeling and almost to like what's going on, what's not being said. Right.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I was like, oh, that's so true and so beautiful that you can connect with another human soul simply through energy.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. I imagine that makes you explore yourself and that person even more on a completely different level, not having what we just all assume and kind of take for granted as like one form of connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's shown me that you can be in other places and be connected in that way. It's like maybe we don't have the words to share, but laughter is a common language. We all share laughter in every culture. And it's those little gestures and things that really go a long way. And that's why I really can show up in a country where I don't know the language, because it's like but we share energy, so I can trust that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So let's talk about that because I know you've got something exciting coming up and I want everyone to hear about it and to know more about, yeah, the solo adventures and things that you provide. And because truly there's nothing like talk about fast track to finding yourself and learning about yourself is to go on an experience like this. Like don't drag it out years and years like I did. Just like immerse yourself and just that's what I would recommend.
Which is funny because you say that, because I'm like, I've been holding on to this dream for 7 years. And
Right.
I had a psychic session a few weeks ago, and she said to me, she said, at this point, you're just hurting yourself
Ooh.
by not putting it out there. I was like,
Ooh.
yeah, I feel
And
that.
just to think too, like, especially for us, like people pleasers and like fear of all of the rejection and all that stuff, is by you not stepping into your gift, how many people have been waiting for you to step into that so they could go on that journey to find themselves to then go do what they're meant to do in the world. Like, oh crap.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's time, and I'll share quickly about this part, because I'm having an event on November 11th about crafting your own solo journey or solo experience. I got the download for that while I was hiking in Patagonia. And Patagonia was always a dream bucket list of mine. And never even thought it was possible. I was like, or maybe possible, but someday
Yeah.
long in the future. And because at the time when I was traveling, I was following invitations and hits. And so I had just finished a retreat in Peru that I was attending. And my college professor that I studied abroad with, his wife reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we're in Chile. If you happen to come this way, let us know." And I was like, oh, I would love to go. So I just booked a ticket right away and went. And then I spent Thanksgiving with them and their college group. And so at that gathering, I was just talking to these kids and they were telling me about Patagonia and they were like, oh yeah, you can go. You just rent gear or rent tents and everything. And I was like, are you serious? And so next thing I know, I was sourced with all the gear. The person who was leading the group down there, he gave me a backpack, he gave me a coat, he gave me cold weather gear. It's like I was sourced. And so 3 days later, I was in Patagonia.
Wow.
And I was like, how is this even happening?
Can't make this stuff up.
Can't make it up. And it was the first time I had ever done a multi-day hike where you're like hiking in between. So you're literally walking all day from campsite to campsite. So there would be a tent like set up for me when I got to my campsite, which was great. And I just, on that experience, I got the download for solo experiences because I was literally on one and it was like everything was being sourced. And of course, then the pandemic hit not long after that and other things. And so it just took some time. But it's been there. The seed was planted a long time ago. And so now I'm like in early 2026, I'm taking a group. It's going to be intimate and I'm so excited. And it's really for people who are ready to see how capable they are, which I know you get that sense when you're working with clients in the gym.
Yes, you can see. Oh, totally. I know you can lift more than like, no. Like, no, I know I can see it. I know it's in you and you just need a mirror or someone to pull it out of you. But then when they do, it's like, there's no better feeling than to witness that.
Yeah. And it's just like being in nature. Nature's just the greatest teacher. And so being in that space. Yeah. So it's been a long dream of mine and I'm really, really excited.
I love this so much. And I hope anyone who's listening, if it piqued your interest of like, follow that, listen to that nudge. You would not have a better guide than Robin because, like I said, you guided me through some of the hardest chapters of my life and just this peaceful, grounded, safe energy to be able to explore, whether that's the world or within. You're absolutely doing what you are meant to do and called to do. And I love how clear it is all the way back from your childhood that this is what you're destined to do. Like, and to me, that just creates even more trust. Like, of course I would travel with you because this has been your whole life path. Like,
I even had
I just got into travel because it's a fun job. Like, literally, this has been my entire life when I didn't have a place, just.
Well, and it's so funny, I'm laughing because I led a retreat in Brazil 2 years ago. And before I did the retreat, I did a session with, I have a dear friend who's a business shaman and she channels guides. Oh. I felt a connection when I went to Brazil. I knew it was one of those spaces where I've been here before. And I kind of have a similar connection with Patagonia where it's like, I'm just connected to this land. And so she tuned in and she was like, well, in a past life, she said, you were a galaxy trotter. Ooh. So it was like a star seed, if you hear about star seeds. But I wasn't just hopping. Now I'm a nomad and it's like hopping place to place on Earth. But in a past life, she said I was hopping galaxies. And I was like, well, that tracks.
Absolutely tracks. Which is funny because I was told that I lived out in the wilderness. And I'm like, is that why I'm a really good axe thrower? I didn't chop my firewood. There was other cool things, but that's so fascinating. And I think back to even my story of doing workout videos in 3rd grade and struggling with my weight and going all that. Like, absolutely, it was meant to guide me to exactly what I'm doing right now, and that makes me trust my journey even more. And knowing that inner child work is a part of that, and that's kind of the tangent I went on last week's podcast, is owning that. I'm not hiding that part of my story. I can't just talk nutrition and workouts. Yeah. That's this much of the piece of the puzzle and where I'm at today. Yeah. And I can't withhold that from people anymore. It's like owning all of you. And so same thing with all of your story. It all comes together and allowing people to truly love all aspects of themselves and honor the entire journey, not just the parts that sound good and that look shiny and that people will be like, oh, that's great for her. I'll be like, oh, she went through some shit. Yeah. Okay, because I am too. And now I can trust her even more.
Yeah, it's like you talk about wilderness and it's like a lot of Patagonia is in a wilderness and you're like, I have to keep going because there's
Yeah.
literally nothing out here coming to take me
Yeah.
to the next destination. So the only thing
Yeah.
that's going to carry me are my 2 feet.
It's such a good teacher. And it makes me think of my paddleboarding. I will never forget there was one time it was windy and I was very much in my healing journey of trying to figure out who I was and like angrily aggressive about figuring that out. And I had no business being out there when it was that windy. I mean, it was like little white caps. And I wasn't thinking when I paddled, like, you're going to have to go into the wind to get back. And I remember, like, I got to channel my inner Moana here, but it was probably the most therapeutic time out on the lake that I ever had because I'm paddling and I can't stop. I literally can't stop because if I stop, I am boom, all the way back to where I started. It was going to spin me around and send me straight back. I could not stop no matter how tired I was, no matter how exhausted I was, no matter like how hopeless it felt that I was going to get to this freaking dock because it just felt like it was not getting any closer. It was like, there's my dream, but I'm like, God damn. I mean, it was all the metaphors,
Yes.
all the metaphors. And I remember saying, I literally yelled this out loud into the wind. I'm not going back. You can't turn me around. I was feeling all of it, but it was, yeah, it gives you all of the lessons that you need and whatever you need. Like somehow nature just knows exactly what it is in those moments. Like, all right, here you are. You're going to sit with yourself and you're going to figure this out. We'll support you. You know, the wind will blow and you need like, okay, I had that clearing thought or the sun comes out. You're like, oh, oh, wow. I love this for you so much. And I love the timing of how this all came together. Good stuff.
It feels like it's like they say, it's cliche, but it's the journey, not the destination. And that's it right there. Cause that's where I really support clients where it's like, yes, you have your to-do list and all the places you want to go and see and do when you're traveling. And how do you want to be? Who do you want to meet? What type of experiences do you want to attract? Because
Yeah.
that's what you're going to walk away with. It's like the best experiences I've ever had are the ones that weren't planned or the ones when plans go wrong. It's like plans fall
Yeah.
apart and then something else appears. And so it's just like learning. It's like when we can learn to be with that,
Yeah.
that's the solo journey. That's what it is to create with yourself in that regard.
And I love the concept behind it because you're right. Sometimes, just like a retreat, you sometimes need to get out of your everyday routine, your everyday environment. And like you said, it allowed me to see the contrast of who I was performing to be in my everyday life versus who am I when I just show up with full freedom to be who I am. People don't know me. Like, where are you your most authentic self? Whoa, it's over here. And something that feels completely unnatural and uncommon and unfamiliar, but yet so familiar
Yes. Yes.
is so cool. And I hope that more people allow themselves to experience that and take those risks because no one is guaranteed time here.
No.
And so, yeah, while that 9 to 5 might feel safe, but if there is that calling and longing in your soul to go explore, you gotta go for it.
Yeah, and that's what I've said many times. It's like I started my journey, my nomad journey when I was 33, and during the pandemic, I was grounded back in Dallas and I was working at REI. I outfitted so many customers who were in 50 plus who were all like, I wish I had started when I was your age. And they were starting now and I was like, hey, you know what? It's never too
At
late.
least you're starting because how many people don't
So
get
many,
that chance?
yeah.
They retire and, oh, I have a heart attack. Oh, I had a
Yeah.
stroke. Like, oh, your retirement didn't go as planned, did it? You can't live with those fears that someday I'll do that. Someday you gotta find a way to live now within that. If this is your life and these are the things that, yes, I need these certain things to survive and provide for my family. And it doesn't have to be either or. Find a way to incorporate and I'm going to go on a solo experience. And yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like this question I'm going to ask it to open up a whole other podcast. But do you feel like people have fear around that? Because it's like, what if I find out that this is who I really am and that this no longer serves me? And if I figure that out, then my life is going to completely have to change. And that's scary.
Yeah. I mean, it's 100%. It's like even with anything you do where you're like looking at yourself it's scary. And it's like we talked about, it's like once like on my on that the first day of that retreat, when I saw that I was playing it safe, it's like I could never unsee that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And it and then it's like everything had to unwind and undo itself. And I have friends who've gone on retreat and got clear like, oh, my relationship's no longer aligned, and they couldn't unsee that anymore.
That exact same thing happened to me. I remember exactly where I was sitting, who I was talking to, and I could never put it back in the box. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's scary, and then I think too, when you are traveling, that's why I like to say traveling with yourself, because when you get to know those parts of yourself,
Yeah.
then you see you're not alone. It's
Yeah.
like you can be your own best friend in that regard and then create experiences and
Mhm.
relationships. And I think so often people look at it like solo, like SOLO, where you're by yourself and it's scary to be by yourself.
Yeah. Which is funny because that's actually, I tend to prefer that now. I have a friend who's like, why don't you come out and do all these things? I'm like, dude, no, I'm just
Well,
like, I'm good. Yeah. There's moments where I probably need that type of connection. But yeah, there's something really powerful about going with it and knowing that, okay, if that's coming up for you, there's a reason it's coming up for you and you'll be supported through it. You might be scared as shit to have those moments of awakening and reckoning, but knowing that they're happening for you. And if it's happening for you, you'll be provided for
yeah.
in whatever way that looks and the lessons that you have to learn. Like even going through bankruptcy, you have people like, how could that happen for you? Like, because God's like, because I need
Yeah.
her. I
Yeah.
need her to help these other people. That's why.
Yeah. And ending with that thought, it's like I would just say to people, one of the things that really got me was I had read this statement that said, if you don't go, you don't know.
Mm,
Me, the not knowing was too great.
yeah.
So I would say if you're listening to this and you're sitting with something, and whether it's a journey, like traveling somewhere, or it's your marriage, or it's a career transition, or it's an art that you've been wanting to an interest or something you've been wanting to experience. One of my oracle cards, and I just pulled it the other day, was trust the niggle. So it's like, oh, that niggling feeling. And it's like, if the thing just keeps
Yeah.
hitting you,
There's a
then
reason.
what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Because it won't go away.
It won't go
It
away. And
just
if
gets louder. It
it
gets
gets
louder
louder,
and then towers fall and all these
yeah,
things. It's like, if I would have just listened.
yeah. It's like, oh, if I just done this thing, like,
Yep.
wouldn't be in this space.
Oh, I love it so much. Well, I will put all of the links and stuff. How can they find you and connect
Yeah.
with you, learn more about what you do? And I will put all that stuff in the show notes as
Yes.
well.
Make it easy for you. Wandering Ant. That's my website. That's my Instagram handle, my Substack, my Facebook, my TikTok. It's like everything.
Great branding there. Nice
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. You said that is starting November
So
11th?
on November 11th, I'm doing a free
11/11. Of course it is.
11, of course. So doing a free workshop on that day to support others in crafting their own solo experience, and then I'll also share about Patagonia for anybody who feels
Awesome.
inspired.
I love it. Well, thank you for being you and thank you for being this bright, amazing light and sharing your gifts with the world. Literally, with the world,
With
getting
the
out
world.
there.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for
I
having me.
will I will get on one of these experiences one of these days. This girl could use a trip. I just
Yeah.
thought of that today. I'm like, I need to get away.
Yeah.
So,
Especially if you're a mom. I'm like, "Come on,
well,
mom." I'm like, "Dads
yeah,
too." It's like, "Yes, dads too." But it's like, yeah, give yourself
yeah,
a break.
yeah. Getting married to a gym, not an actual person, but a physical gym kind of
Yeah, it's a new
tied
relationship.
me down a little bit.
Yeah, it's a whole new relationship.
It's a whole new relationship. It's very complicated,
It's a
but in the
situation.
best way. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
But yeah, another big risk. So
Yeah,
that's what us Sagittariuses do. We go for it. So
we do.
if anything, hopefully you can be inspired by that. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you again. It was such a joy reconnecting with you. And I'm excited to see what comes of this next chapter for you, for us, and
Yeah.
all the people that you touch. So
Yes. Thank you.
awesome. Alrighty, everyone. Thank you. If anything in this episode resonated or you want to connect with Robin, I will share all the deets in here, but also just let us know, like, subscribe, share, do all of the things that help get this message out there, because I don't have magical powers to work with the algorithm, so any help we get is great. But other than that, please go on some adventure with your inner child. Go travel, just get outside, do something that would help fuel your soul that way, and know that wherever you go, your inner child is with you. And so like you said, you're never alone. You're going with yourself and with your inner child. So go on that adventure. Until next week. Bye. Oh.